Hey, welcome back to Splash Page. I'm Andrew, that's Sean, and today we just got to see episodes 1, 2, and 3 of Season 2 of Vox Machina. What did you think? High level.
I loved it. The first season I thought was fantastic, even though I had very little context outside of what was being shown on screen. But to give them all the credit in the world, you don't have to know much about their Dungeons and Dragons game to be able to enjoy this show. So I thought this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, they did a really good job of taking hundreds of hours of footage and condensing it into a watchable, enjoyable story that still gets all of the character traits of all those fun characters and keeps the story moving forward. I'll be honest, I'm a little concerned knowing the story arc, how they're going to fit it into 12 episodes, but I guess they have a plan.
Yeah, 12 25-minute episodes as well. So we're not talking
morning.
about full hours or anything like that. This has got to be quick.
Old school Saturday morning cartoon style, I guess without the commercials. But do you want to dive right in?
Let's go.
So we're starting off episode 1 with King Uriel of Tal'Dorei stepping down to, I guess, invent democracy or some sort of democracy. And there's a couple dragons that are not too happy with his decision. I don't think it actually has anything to do with his decision. They just want Emon. So we get 4 dragons flying in and just causing utter havoc. Everyone's dying in the castle. They call themselves the Chroma Conclave. They're led by Thordak, the Cinder King. And there's just fire, poison, ice, murdering everyone. There's a lot of defensive magic, too, I noticed. That seemed to be the only thing that saved a couple lives, because none of their weapons worked. They really hammered that in, that nothing they have really worked on those dragons.
Yeah, and Andrew, question for you.
Yeah.
They referenced the number 4 dragons quite a few times, but when I was thinking about the episode, and maybe I'm just missing one, but there is the leader who's basically like a regular dragon in the sense he's shooting fire and maybe something a little bit more intense than fire. There was a second dragon who was kind of spitting acid and gas that was both corrosive and obviously killing people as well.
Right.
And then there was the ice dragon who was shooting ice. Who am I missing, or what am I missing?
So we've actually got 5 dragons. We killed one of them last season, which was Brimsight, the blue dragon that was shooting electricity. He was the Iron Storm. They all have really cool names. But yeah, we have Thordak, the Cinder King, and he's shooting fire. Raishan, the Disease Deceiver, who is shooting poison, kind of poison gas. Umbrasil was the black dragon, and that's acid. And then we had Voragel, the Frigid Doom, who is the ice colds.
Got it.
And with
so
their
the
powers,
acid and the gas, 2 different dragons.
And with their powers combined, they make Captain Planet, I believe.
Nice. And another thing, and you just referenced it, again, not knowing the story at all, I was a bit disappointed is not the right word, but I was kind of surprised that we're like going right back to dragons.
Right.
Like there are so many mythical beasts and creatures that could be kind of the big bad of season 2, considering the big bad of season 1. In the first season, I guess you could say it's a dragon as well, but there are also the Briarwoods that for a long period of time around Percy's story were kind of seen as the big bad. So just going right back to dragons kind of seems like we're going back to the same well here.
It does a little, and at the same time, having watched the game and even having watched the show, it does feel bigger and makes the world feel almost more real to me. Almost as if there was a dragon and we killed it, and now we're going to go fight a unicorn or a sea monster or whatever they fight, villains. But this actually kind of made it feel almost more real, like they killed the dragon, and that wasn't a standalone dragon. He happened to be part of a bigger group, this Chroma Conclave they call themselves. We just didn't know about them yet. Now he's dead, and the other 4 are going to come in and actually enact their plan. So I like Matt Mercer's writing in that way, that, I showed you this dragon. He wasn't on his own. This is like a living, breathing world. He had ties with other dragons, which actually comes up too, because it is strange for dragons to be working together. So they all seem surprised by that.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that too. I mean, I guess a dragon is a pretty solitary creature, knowing that their lairs are just like them lying on gold and just kind of snoozing all day.
Yeah, they seem like
so to see them as pack animals is a bit strange.
They seem like a very wealthy dog. They're just laying around all day. I don't understand why I would not want to be a dragon. It seems boring. So we got these 5 dragons, 4 now, who are just obliterating everyone. Vox Machina gets split up. They kind of meet up at Gilmore's Glorious Goods, which is now burnt to the ground, and take a whole bunch of magic items and basically run
And
off. They run off to Whitestone.
And a broom.
Yeah, and a broom. They did get a broom.
And a broom. Which I feel like that broom has to come into something later. Like, the broom has been brought up too many times to not be important to some extent. But I kind of do hope it's just a broom and it's totally like a fake out. Also, one thing I noticed while the dragons were destroying the city, I think we actually witnessed Matt Mercer looking character who's been kind of with the wheelbarrow all first season. I think he gets killed.
So yeah, the city's getting torn to pieces by these dragons. Vox Machina gets split up and they kind of regroup at Gilmore's Glorious Burnt to a Crisp store, grab a bunch of magical items off the shelves, and escape back to their castle before... it was interesting to me that they had a thing with doors in the game, so doors come up a lot. There was even that moment where Grog saves everyone by using a metal door to protect them. And I forget who said, that's a door that actually helped us.
I heard that too.
But then they get back to their castle and Vexalia screams, shut the gates, to a giant flying dragon who just bursts right through.
Yeah. And like, why did he even go through? Why did he just go over it?
Like the dragon's going to go, oh, the gate is closed. Let me knock.
Right.
Is there a bell here? Yeah, they all kind of congregate. It seems like the entire town meets up at their castle, and Keyleth is able to tree stride them out to Whitestone, Percy's home. But yeah, so they make it to Whitestone. Keyleth opens up the tree, and again, like that tree stride spell lasts for 6 seconds. Narratively, they keep it open for a little longer, but they only get about 10 people through, so I guess everyone else was just destroyed after they left. They saved a few people, but...
Yeah, and I think we get a peek of that again in the second episode or third episode. I can't remember what it was, but you do see kind of I think it's Pike goes back and takes a look.
Yeah.
A vision, and yeah, sees the remaining people aren't exactly in the best of shape.
Yeah, so we're in Whitestone. We meet Keeper Yenin again, who was integral in the first season, kind of helping out. And she sends him off to Vasselheim after they decide to fight the dragons. There was a moment where Scanlan really didn't want to do it, and then he was only convinced when 2 adoring young fans were whispering, that's the guy that killed the dragons. Look at him, he's a hero. It's like, all right, I guess I'll be a hero.
Yeah, vanity.
He is very vain.
Right? But, whatever gets someone fight a dragon for me.
Yeah.
That's fine. Hey, I'll say whatever you want. If you're going to fight a dragon for me, I'll say whatever you want.
It all works out, and they head over to Vasselheim, and that's the end of episode 1 right there. There also was a moment with a scary little green-eyed girl on the other side of that tree.
Yeah, what was that
stared
about?
Down Grog. What did you think of that? Did you notice anything about
that? Just green eyes.
Yeah. She looked,
which were very apparent.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if it was like an elf or what, but there is this thing going on with Grog right now because of the sword, right?
Well, there is that. He has a cursed sword that talks to him, but he thinks it's his stomach. Yeah, no, I have a feeling she'll come back. Wink, wink. I don't want to.
I hope she.
I don't want to say anything because a lot of people watching this might not have seen the games, and I don't want to ruin it for you. And it hasn't come up story-wise yet, so I won't mention anything about it.
Yeah, because she also kind of looks like Keyleth.
Yeah, I can see that.
So could there be some kind of connection to her and her people or whatnot? But yeah, I certainly do. I noticed it. They made it noticeable.
Well, I'll leave that for the people watching if they want to. If they don't know, if you want to guess, or if you do know, if you want to break the news to anyone in the comments down there.
Don't do it. I want to. Yeah. I want to watch it.
Don't spoil it for Sean.
I'm the one that answers all the comments, man.
All right, so you know what? If you know what it is, keep it under wraps. And if you don't know what it is, let me know your best guesses.
There you go.
No cheating. So yeah, that's the end of episode 1, and we come into episode 2 right out of that as the team tree strides into Vasselheim. Now, tree stride, Keyleth needs to have known the tree, but all she has is a very vague description from Keeper Yenin. So they don't get quite the right tree, and it ends up being precariously attached to a stone cliff in the wrong direction.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Just seeing them save themselves from a fall. One very practically with turning into an eagle and grabbing a few of them and slowly getting them to the ground. And then Scanlan, rather than using his floating hand, which we all know he has, makes the ground into a pair of boobs that they can bounce off of.
I believe he made it into a butt, and Grog
Is it a
mistook
butt?
it.
Because yeah, there's the
Yeah,
joke later that Grog's between it.
Grog mistook
Um,
them for boobs, but it's very Scanlan. But they do make it to Vasselheim, which is a very religious city, and they don't mention it in the show, but they get annoyed if people use magic. Like that's a jailable offense, I believe,
mm,
in Vasselheim. They wander through and give us a lot of information about the city, this backstory, all the different religious sites that they're passing by. And they make it over to the Platinum Sanctuary where they meet up with High Bearer Vord, and they got an interesting little like waterfall that reads your mind, and they were able to see the dragons attacking. But they
yeah,
decided, yeah, they're not
and
going
they
to
watched
help.
that and they were like, "Oh, cool, that is
Yeah,
dangerous. Thanks for letting us know.
yeah,
We're gonna do nothing about it."
yeah. You've got our hospitality, but that's about it. Because again, they're very isolationist, which it reminded me of like America, like George Washington's speech when he left office, where he's like, just don't get involved with those other countries; it's dangerous. So we just fought a big war. Let's like chill out for a little bit. So
Yeah,
yeah, they don't want to get involved because they think their biggest strength is their isolation, their walls, their defense, and if they send the defense out to defend other people, they leave nothing for themselves. So they head out of there. They get one of the assistants comes out and tells them to go over to the Slayer's Take, which Vex and Vax have had a little bit of a history with and argue over whether they should go. Also, at a certain point right there, Vex sees a shadowy figure running by. I think that shadowy figure runs by a few times. Did you notice that?
yeah, and it does disappear kind of in real time as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So very curious what that is.
I'm not sure, but I'm guessing that's an image of the Raven Queen. I could be wrong.
Oh,
I
okay,
could be wrong,
interesting.
but I think that has something to do with the Raven Queen, especially because we're in Vasselheim and they're heading over to. Later, we find out to get the Raven Queen's vestige.
Right. Yeah, that makes a
Yeah,
lot of sense.
so I think that's an image of her, but I'm not sure. But they do make it over to the Slayer's Take, where Vex and Vax are wanted for 12,000 gold with the head of a Hydra. They stole it. And they meet some old friends, but it's very like catty Mean Girls kind of deal between Vex and Zara.
Yeah, it seems like they have bad blood, or there's some level of jealousy there.
Yeah,
That's even outside of just the 12,000 gold that was stolen. So the Slayers take essentially work for the Sphinx, right? The Sphinx gives them missions and jobs to do, and they go do it and get paid
more
handsomely for it. Am I reading that correctly?
more or less, it seems that way. I think they also take jobs from outside, but the Sphinx is kind of their patron and runs things.
Right. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, which was interesting. The Sphinx was a. They get down there and she just rips them apart, like the deepest, darkest emotional secrets, and just hurts. It was very much like a roast almost. They just fell into a pit and got roasted by a Sphinx,
Yeah,
which
and
seems harsh.
it's funny. I very much wonder what the gameplay of that portion was like because in the end, it seemed like Pike was just basically like "f you, f you, f you," and
Yeah.
eventually the Sphinx is like, "Ah, okay. Well, here's what you need to know." You know, it didn't seem like there was like much convincing to
Yeah.
do other than that. Well, we don't care if we die. Like, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of.
Well, again, like I said before, I think in the game they went on different missions and proved their worth to be inducted, and then the take would help them.
Oh, got
I
it.
don't think they
Okay.
had that emotional moment of a Sphinx just yelling at them and telling them they're awful people.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And again, it's one of those things you have to truncate to be able to fit it
yeah.
in a TV show. But I think more interestingly, during that whole portion of the episode, Grog's not there because his sword talks to him, which you mentioned he thinks is his stomach, and
Yeah.
he goes to get a drink, and then he fights this old guy. What's going on there?
That was Earthbreaker Groon, which again similar timeline, but I think it was a little bit later and slightly different to the game. But yeah, Groon is he kind of runs that church temple over there. He has his one on one with Grog because Grog walked in. Grog walked in looking for help, and it feels almost Buddhist in nature. Not quite, but you're here, so you must need something. So let's find out what it is. And it's a religion, kind of a place based on strength and fighting, and
Yeah, and I believe he keeps repeating, "Where does your strength come from?"
yes,
And Grog gives the obvious answers of like his rage and his muscles and then his heart.
right,
And the guy just like keeps beating the crap out of him
wrong.
and saying like, "No, do we know? Do we
we
ever
do
find
we
out
do
where his
find
strengths come
we do
from?"
find out, and I'll let you
Okay,
find that out in real time.
great,
But
great,
no, that
great.
was a great, because he fights Grun twice, I believe, in the game in 2 different episodes. So that makes sense that they cut it there. And there is a satisfying conclusion to that weird little aside. That
Okay, good.
yeah, no, that
Because I was like, I need to know more about this.
no, that definitely goes somewhere. So yeah, Grog finishes his fight, gets the crap beat out of him by an old guy. The team is ripped apart by roasting comedy sphinx, and then sent off to find the vestiges of divergence, which was a lot of the game arc where they just go off to find the different vestiges. The first one being the Deathwalker's Ward, held by the champion of the Raven Queen, Pervan Sul.
So they go out to the woods to find the tomb where the vestige is.
Yes.
And come across a frozen lake. And Scanlan decides to skate on it and gets attacked by something inside of the water or under the ice, only to be saved by the two
the new friends.
Two new friends. They seem trustworthy.
Kasha and Zara. Well, Vex and Vax know Zara a little bit. Kasha seems a little new. Kasha seems like he's interested in Keyleth, so that's, trustworthy.
Fair, yep.
I think those were called Adaro, and there was some fighting of them in the episode and in the game, and they split the lake as if it was the Red Sea and run into the temple. And
yep.
Yeah, Grog plays the rogue in this, finding all the traps by setting them off.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Mm-hmm. And Kasha and Zara, not as trustworthy as they seem, which is not a lot, and rush off, ditch the rest of Vox Machina, and find what they believe is Pervan's sarcophagus. I guess it's not. I guess they got it wrong, because we don't know where they end up. They just walk down a hallway. The team finds the sarcophagus. Vax is looking for some kind of treasure downstairs, and they find the sarcophagus and end up setting off a trap that, yes, it kills Vexalia.
Yeah, that was a heartbreaking moment, because the whole episode was kind of cutting back to Vex and Vax's past.
Yes.
And really making it seem like Vex always needed to take care of Vax. And we kind of see at the very end that it's actually not the case. That it was always Jesus, I always fuck up their names.
They screwed up their names constantly. That's part of the fun. The boy Vaxeldan was accused of over caring for Vexalia, the sister, and it turned out that no, he was just a scared, lost little boy and needed his sister next to him at all times.
Yeah, and so seeing him hold her dead body was very sad. I mean, I actually teared up.
Yeah, it was rough.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not foolish enough to think that this is the end of that character. Dungeons and Dragons, it's very easy to bring somebody back to life.
It's a lot like comic books. Nobody dies forever, except
right,
Bucky.
But but if this was another show, or a show that wasn't based on Dungeons and Dragons, and obviously thousands of hours of gameplay that are still going on, this would have been soul crushing to see one of the main group killed off in kind of an unceremonious way, because they're totally playing it like she is dead.
She is, and I'm excited for you to see next week's triple episode, because it's soul crushing. Continues.
Oh jeez.
You're not wrong in what you said, but it's not like, oh yeah, everything's happy now. It's it's dark, but Liam O'Brien liked to play dark at the time. But I think a lot of this backstory came from a book they put out, a Critical Role book called Kith and Kin, that I know goes into their backstory. We could put a link to that down in the description, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. There'll be a link
let's
down
do
there. If
that.
you guys click on it and buy through this link, we'll get a small percentage at no cost
Yes,
to you.
so that could be fun. And I haven't read it, but it's gotten good reviews, and I hear it's good. So, but that's
Cool.
the first 3 episodes of season 2, and we're off to a hell of a start. It's just death and destruction everywhere, dragons and weird little laser beams that are killing off our friends. Yeah.
Right.
Uh,
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining. Please like and subscribe as it helps our channel out a ton. We'll keep doing Vox Machina recaps and some other side videos if we see a topic we really want to cover. So we look forward to having you guys back. I'm Sean. That's Andrew. Take it
see
easy,
you
YouTube.
next time.